Hello everyone, this is Jim Chastain, FRC LabVIEW Mentor. This video is on joystick usage in the 2019 FRC contest. Assumptions we're making for this particular installment is that the joystick channel has previously been set up in begin and closed and finish. Then we're using either a single joystick, typical controller, or a game controller, that the USB drivers are included in Windows and it's recognized by the driver station, and the viewer has reviewed the begin VI video and finish so that all this stuff has been properly done. Now what this basically means is once I plug my joystick in, I have a joystick indication on the driver station from FRC 2019, and I've got the indication for the joystick is listed in USB 0 location, and as I move the joysticks around, I get value changes, and as I press the buttons change. So all that's a precursor to what we're going to do starting now. Now to set up the joysticks, we want to utilize code in periodic task. To enter any information in our robot project, we want to start with the Robot Project Explorer window, which is this element here. And we only want to make entry into the team code folder. And specifically right now, we're looking at periodic task. So I double click and open it, go to the block diagram, and I've set up the first VI, and I've relabeled just by double clicking and typing in read sensors and joystick. I'm going to call this loop loop A, just for reference. Now, this is an existing folder or existing while loop in any blank project, and it's set up initially with a wait of 10 milliseconds, which is a little bit fast in terms of what we're going to be doing as far as reading the sensors and the joystick, so I usually relabel this to 20. I can see by this elements over here that we have both the joystick and the left and right drive motors have been bundled into this pipe, which is the magenta line which goes through while loop A. I need to unbundle that signal so I can get access to joystick number 0. To do that, I right click, select the cluster, class, and variable or variant palette, and I want to click once on the unbundle by name icon, place it here on the one line or the block diagram, left click and connect the input to the unbundle icon to the pipe that already exists. With the white finger, I can see I have a choice between robot drive def, which I'm not going to worry with now, and the joystick. So right now I'm working with joystick all elements. Now the next thing I want to do is get the value from that channel, and to do that I right click, I go to WPI Robotics Library, Joystick Channel. I'm going to pin it just so I can talk about it. And what I'm looking for is the get value icon, and I'm going to place it right there. If I haven't used this before, I can use context help and hover over that icon, and it shows me that I connect the ref name into this top line, and then on the second and third terminal on the right, I see axis and buttons available. All right, so let's connect this first one up. And for now, I'm going to set up 2 axis and 4 buttons, actually 5 buttons. And to do that, I need to unbundle or actually index these axis and button arrays which are coming out. Now, if I don't know what that is, what kind of element this is, I'm going to right click on that output and create an indicator which will show me, in this case, it's an array for the axis. and it's this element's the element for array, and it should be able to indicate that from my get help. So if I hover over that, that says that this is a scaled axis array 1D, which means it's a list of names that's one width, one element wide. So however many axes I have is coming out of this port. I'm going to get rid of this indicator because I just wanted to look at it by doing a Control-Z twice. And what I want to do now is index that array. I'm going to right-click, go to the Array menu or palette. I'm going to select this second one, which says Index Array, and place it right here. And I'm going to connect the axis pipe into the axis array. And now I have available to me the elements coming out of there. If I right-click now and create an indicator, I'll see that there's a numeric value, and that's what I expect from a joystick axis, analog axis. So let's clean that up. Now, where do I put this? I'm going to put it in Robot Global Data. And to find Robot Global Data, I go to the Project Explorer, so Show Project Explorer, and I'm going to drag, left-click and drag Robot Global Data onto this one, the block diagram. Now, if nothing's been entered yet, there's already some values there. With my single arrow, I'm going to double-click, and it opens up the front panel of Robot Global Data. And my axis now, I need two numeric values. Right-click, create a numeric indicator 1, label it axis 1, and, axis X and axis Y. So I'm right-click, numeric indicator, and I'm going to call this joystick Y. So I've got one for X and one for Y. Now as I save and close this, close and save it, now those variables are available to me from my white finger click, and I can store now the values that are coming out of this index into that Robot Global Data. Now it turns out the first two are X and Y of the first joystick. So I'm going to connect up the joystick, take a copy of this by holding down Control, left click and drag. Whoops, I want to do the single arrow on the Robot Global Data, left click and drag. I'm going to select the Y-axis and then hook it up. So now whenever my program is running, every 20 milliseconds, it's going to read the value of the joystick from the driver station and put it on Robot Global Data. Now I'm going to pull this orange wire a little bit over to the side because I've got another button here that's an array out for the buttons, so I need to index the buttons as well. Get my index array icon, set it up here, pull down the button array, put it in there, and again I can right click and create an indicator and show that this is a single element Boolean variable. So I'm going to create a number of Boolean indicators in my Robot Global Data. Again, I can do that just by holding down Control, bring down a copy of this existing Robot Global Data, double click on it with a little arrow, and now instead of numeric values, I want Boolean variables, and the first one's going to be button 1. Now if I set up this indicator, I select it, left click and drag, hold down Control, put my little arrow there on the button, left click and drag 1, left click and drag 2, left click and drag 3. So now I have 4 buttons established. So I want to bring out 4 buttons plus button 8. Let's make it button 7. So I'm going to bring down one more. Now instead of button 5, I want to change this to button 7. I guess I want it like that. Now, as soon as I close and save this, all those variables now will be listed in my robot global data. Now I have 4 buttons in a row. It turns out this is just showing me the first one, which is element 0. If I left click and drag, I can expose now 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons. I'm going to go ahead and bring down the 5th one. All right, so for the first one, it's going to be button 1. Let's hold down control, left click and drag, hold down control, left click and drag, and make these buttons 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I can select each of those values just by using the white knuckle icon cursor and then selecting whichever one I want to put in that slot. So this is button 4 at the bottom. And then I just carefully connect up the output element from the index array to each of these robot global data variables. And once I have it done, I might want to go back and right click and clean up the wire just to make sure things are clean and I have things connected to the right button output, which looks good. Now, and actually, so what I want to do is move this out of the way. Now I need to hook up button 7 to the bottom, so I'm going to select, hold down control, bring down another copy of this, make this button 7. Now button 7 is in here, but it's not in series that I've already established. So this started with 0. Element 0 is button 1, element 2 is button, element 1 is button 2, element 2 is button 3, and the like. So if I want to get to button 7, I need to create a constant and make this 6. At that point, it's going to give me button 7. If that doesn't confuse things, you're a better person than I. All right. Now, once I'm done with this, I want to go back and verify that these indicate properly in robot global data. But at that point, now I have 2 joysticks, X and Y. I want to double check that button 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7 properly illuminate. And I'll do that when we get to the physical robot by running the program. And before I enable any code, I look at these values change as I'm varying my joystick. All right, we're done with that. Have a good day.